It is a myth that blood-related family members kill each other on a regular basis. If you look at violence within families, most family homicides occur between step-parents and their stepchildren or between spouses. In other words, the violence is happening between people who are not genetically related to each other. And the presence of a step-parent or a non-related family member in the house is one of the big risk factors for abuse and violence against children. Rates of child abuse are 50 to 100 times higher in step families, and having a step-parent is the best single predictor of child abuse. You are 11 times more likely to be killed by a non-kin family member, and stepchildren are 120 times more likely to be murdered than children that do not have a step-parent. There's a big difference in the murder style between stepfathers and biological fathers. When stepfathers kill children, it's usually a much more brutal, violent kind of act. I don't think murder is usually what the father is setting out to do, but it's a beating that gets out of hand, and after the murder takes place, there's usually a cover-up. On the other hand, when biological fathers kill their children, it's much more often accompanied by a suicide by the father, and the father is trying to spare the children from the agony of living a difficult life after the father is gone. And oftentimes the style of murder is much more humane, if there can be such a thing. The father may shoot the children when they're sleeping, for example. Now, this is pretty grim stuff to talk about, and I don't want to overstate the effect of having step-parents. Some of you undoubtedly have step-parents, and you may have very good relationships with them. But if you look at the statistics over time, there is this clear difference in patterns of violence in step-families versus not step-families. The reproductive value of the child and the parent's life circumstances are the best predictors of violence against children. Kids are more likely to be killed by young parents who have the capacity to produce more children in the future. And the children that are killed often are children with some sort of developmental disability or in some other way are not perfectly healthy. Infants under the age of 1 are much more likely to be murdered than older children. So the health of an infant and the circumstances that the mother are in are good predictors of the probability of neglect, abuse, or murder. Here are some graphs that very vividly depict differences in the rate of child abuse and murder in families where there is a step-parent versus one where there is not. Regarding violence between spouses, male violence against their spouses and partners is usually triggered by sexual jealousy. For a male, evolutionarily speaking, the worst thing you can do is to invest a lot in children that are not your own. And so men have this trigger when they are concerned about the faithfulness of their spouses that may trigger rage. Younger wives who have a much older husband are at especially great risk for spousal abuse. So male violence, most often triggered by sexual jealousy. Important point. The degree to which biologically related children, the degree to which they look like their father, correlated with the quality of the relationship that the kids had with the father and the severity of injuries inflicted on the wife by the father. This was based on a study of 55 men who were in a domestic violence treatment program.